Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and today is Friday, January 3rd, and this is our weekly look back at last week's eBay auction results, see what's been going on. If you checked it out last week, this was last week's newsletter page with some interesting things on here, and we're going to get into them in just a few minutes. There's a couple of very nice lots also that are on there currently. One of them was featured on the site last week, closes this weekend, and we'll talk about that toward the end. One of the things I wanted to mention was that we added this catalog this week. We're branching out for the reference library to other auction houses because it's starting to make their catalogs much more easily available to us. So this one is from Cambi. It's in Milan, Italy, and it's a sale that starts on the 22nd of January. And this gives you plenty of time to get in touch with them and check into condition reports and that kind of thing. There's a lot of jade in here. And there's some very good 18th century porcelain, as you can see here. Some very fine blue and white pieces, and there's pages of them. There's a nice sensor. This one in particular I like a lot. That's a terrific little sensor. It's got a nick out of it, but it doesn't bother me. I love the seated immortals and the way the flowers are done and so forth. And there's a number of good things, a number of very good things in here. So you want to check that out. One of them is this very nice little Ming dish, beautifully done. They say it's Qing. I don't think it is. I think it's Ming. I think it's older than that. But at any rate, their dating seems to be pretty good, and you want to check it out. So it's on the reference book section over on Bidamount.com, so give that a look. All righty. And then on to how things did last week. One of them was this. This was a really nice little Republic period cup with a falcon on it. The painting style is very reminiscent of some of the best Republican painters who worked in the late 1920s through the 1930s predominantly. This was a beautiful example. There's the mark on the base. It's just one of those later marks. But what a wonderful little cup. And it brought $1,525. It was a nice thing. I actually had a couple of inquiries about this particular thing, and I encouraged the inquirers to don't be afraid of it. Buy it. All right. The other thing was this. This was one of the little bargains of the week. This was a very nice little early Korean blue and white water dropper. These used to be worth a lot of money. People used to pay, back in the 90s, Korean water droppers brought the world. And since then, they've become much more favorable as far as prices goes. 20 years ago, these were selling for in the thousands. And somebody picked this up for $62 from Scrap Dixon over in France. I think that was pretty much a steal. I thought that was a great buy, really great buy. And then on to this. There was this Blanc de Chine beaker. They had it as Kangxi early Qing in that era there. Nicely done Blanc de Chine piece with raised characters and relief work and stuff. But it's definitely an 18th century thing. And it ended up bringing $1,275, which was very reasonable. This was a nice piece of Blanc de Chine, and I think the price was perfectly fair. And then on to this. I had 4 inquiries about this, the cobalt blue sensor. This was a very nice one, beautiful glaze on it, and in the end it did pretty well. It brought $2,000. It was a nice thing. And then this, the Kangxi vase. It's one of these oddball forms. Rob Michaels had a couple of these last year. They do turn up predominantly in Europe, in the Netherlands, in France, England, these places. You don't see these too often in the United States unless somebody has bought it over there and brought it back. But these early pieces don't typically turn up here as items that were brought over in much quantity relative to the Netherlands. And this one did pretty well. It had a repair to it. It brought $534. In perfect condition, these bring $900 to $1,500. And then this, the big Famille Rose vase. It had a nick out of the rim, but it was a big vase. It was pretty, late 19th century. And there's always a market for these, and it brought $1,613. That's not a bad price for that. Pairs of them bring a lot. And then on to this. This was a great buy for the week. I think this was a very, very good buy. Kangxi iron red, beautifully decorated, lots of negative space, I think it was an 8 or 9 inch dish. And it went for just $113. It was a seller in Birmingham, England that had it. I think part of why it didn't bring maybe what it could have, because the description was so vague. It was the terms up there. If somebody was searching, this would turn up an awful lot of returns. It could be causing it to be easily missed. And the plate was 22 centimeters, about 8 inches in 7-8 inches in diameter, and it was a very reasonable price. And then onto this, the boxwood carving of the maiden. I just like this. This wasn't a terribly old one. It was probably done in the early 20th century or so. But I love the finish on it and the way the robes were carved. The workmanship on this was really, really fine. And it's always about the workmanship on these. His photographs were a little dark and odd, but he got it done. There it is. And this went for a decent price, $338. I don't think that was an overpayment at all. It was a nice thing. Good early wooden carvings are always fun to buy, and you can still pick them up. All righty, and then over to this, the Blue Ground Femi-Ware Kongshi dish. This was a nice one. It's a very highly sought-after pattern with that square panel in the middle. The only problem with this photo, obviously, is that the lighting was a bit too bright, but this was a nice dish. It was a good-looking piece of porcelain, and in the end, it did pretty well. It brought $817. It was about 8 inches in diameter, and but a nice, desirable type. Good looking, and these were also exported into Europe. This one came from an English seller, an English dealer. And then the big 18th century export platter with the geese, the pair of peacocks in the middle, rather. And this was a nice one. It's a fairly well-known pattern with the balustrade on the shoreline, and then the large peonies coming up over it with the rocky outcroppings and all that. Plate had a little bit of brown dressing still on the rim. Here's the back of it. It's pretty much how they always look. A little bit, flat, unglazed, maybe with some kiln grit attached to it, in that nice sort of oatmeal color. And this went pretty reasonably, $272. All right. And again, this is because these were export pieces, and Chinese buyers typically don't chase them. All right, which I don't understand. I really don't understand it, because the export stuff was absolutely superb. And then over to this, the nice-looking pair of dishes, cobalt blue. These were for the Islamic market, many feel. Several pairs of these have turned up in the last month or two on here. So I got a feeling maybe there was an auction somewhere where they sold a whole bunch of these. And they're turning up. It's an auction over in Europe, maybe. This came from Fiek over in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. He's a good dealer over there. His username is Hans3962. He's been on eBay for a long time, and he gets good things. And then along to this. This was really cool. This was an ormolu-mounted rose mandarin punch bowl. I think the mounts are early 20th century from what I can see of them. They did take them apart. Probably done in France or England, I would suspect. But nice quality porcelain. And the mounts were probably put on, between 1900 and 1920, I would guess. All right, and it sold for $822. It did have a star crack on the bottom, but quite a presentation. I think $800 for this was very, very reasonable. I could imagine that bowl bringing that much, even with a star crack, without the ormolu. But the ormolu really gives it a look. It was always nice. And then on to this. This is another one of those things that shouldn't technically be sold on eBay because it's tortoiseshell. All right, and if you don't know that, you're not supposed to put tortoiseshell on. But this is clearly an antique example. Wonderfully carved. It needs a little bit of a cleaning and a slight oiling to bring the details back up on it. It looks like it's gotten a little bit dry, but nicely done. It had a minor loss on a corner, but the carving was excellent, really excellent on it. It was a late 18th, early 19th century thing, and it brought $784. It's quite a nice thing. And then on to this. This was that framed calligraphy fan there. This is a nice-looking script on it. The script was very orderly. A lot of these were popped into fans over the year. Into frames over the years because the fans let go and they remount them in frames. It had an export stamp on it. It's probably a late 19th, early 20th century thing, but nice quality, very good quality. And it sold for $672, which is all right. That's perfectly fine for that. If you like Chinese script and calligraphy and want to learn about it as an art form, it's a very interesting arena. All right, and then on to this, the Famille Rose water bottle. This is a nice one, rose mandarin with these big elephant handles coming off and a cup form mouth, which is sort of unusual on these. And this was a good one, pre 1850, and it went for a reasonable price, not an overpayment, not an underpayment. It went $329, but it was a good looking thing. Nice color on that. And onto these. These were a bargain. These is a pair of the 18th century Chinese export garniture vases. The pattern is sort of a stock pattern that you see on a lot of garniture sets. A lot of export tea sets have the same pattern on it. It was a very, very popular thing. And the quality of the work tended to be quite good. And this pair sold for just $510, which was a bargain. In the past on here, we've seen single examples of these bring actually more than that. So whoever got those got I think a very good deal. They had, one of them had a nick out of the rim or something, but I don't think it was anything too significant. So I think that was just a great buy. Christmas time, between the 10th of December on through the month into the New Year's. Prices we've seen historically have gone a little bit sideways for some sellers because a lot of people are too busy during the holidays to shop and hunt. They're thinking of doing other things. They've got family coming in, and we noticed there was a pretty steep decline in items that were available on eBay during that period, about half of what we normally see in a given week. And sort of the same on CATAWIKI, and definitely the same at the big auction houses. They've got nothing up right now to speak of. There's a few sales coming up in January, but you'll see it's going to start to build up again pretty quickly. All right, and then on to this, the Famille Rose vase. This was a nice one. It's a well-known type. Late 19th, early 20th century, had chimeras creeping around the neck here, and then pairings of lions up and down the body of it. And it did okay. It brought $588. And these are nice. These look good on mantles. If you have these kinds of vases also, put flowers in them. All right, and then on to this was the lozenge-shaped bowl. This was a nice one with the immortals roaming around, a couple of immortals and figures on the outside, women carrying flowers, sort of a springtime thing. Here's a picture of the bottom, the footroom, that nice sort of a little bit rustic, but nicely finished. Very typical of these for the 19th century. And it went reasonably, $225. And those of you that have bought these in the past have, probably paid more. That was, again, another very good, sort of holiday period buy. We saw a number of them over the last week or two where things just seemed to go a little bit soft, all right? And then on to this. This was that really, really wonderful doctor's visit Cornelius Pronk designed dish. They do turn up in auctions. They've been at Christie's has certainly had them. Sotheby's has had them in their Chinese export sales. Bonham's has had them. These dishes were produced. There were a fair number of these sets produced, but they're not common by any stretch. And as I said last week, it would probably bring $1,800 to $2,500, and it brought $2,112, which is just about right, somewhere in that range. All right. It did sell. Some of the things at CATAWIKI, there was a nice sale up there that a friend of mine had last week, and I think he got a little overly aggressive on his reserves. And you got to watch that. I hope the CATAWIKI sellers learn what the eBay sellers have learned years ago, that you start with a low starting bid, no reserve, and let people get excited about the chance to buy your things. Reserves are killers, especially when the price gets up there a bit and people start to look and they go, the reserve hasn't been met yet and the price is getting right up there. It discourages participation. It just does. All right. If you want to sell at auction, sell it. Don't put reserves on everything unless you really have to. The market will find it, the market will promote it, and the competition will get the price up for you. All right. And I'm just going to, again, caution people on reserves. Reserves can do a lot of damage to an auction. Okay. And this is just some of the stuff that's coming up this week on CATAWIKI. And we found, when we've been doing all these changes to the website, I know we've been working on it for a while because more and more things keep turning up, but we're just about done fixing it and doing the new section. We found a way that we'll be able to upload and pull over a lot more listings from CATAWIKI as well as eBay in the coming weeks. It's a type of software that we didn't know existed until very recently, and we learned how to use it. All right, but these are some of the Juan Lee pieces that are on CATAWIKI this week and coming up. And then there's a whole bunch of Famille Rose that's on there right now, including this rather nice statue that I had a couple of inquiries about. It's up to $1,500, and it closes closes on Sunday. All right, and then there's this very nice Chinese export, late 18th century armorial reticulated plate, very, very pretty, and it is in good shape. Often these reticulated panels often have missing pieces or are broken because they're so delicate, they're prone to it, and it's just gone up. This has 8 days and 20 hours to go, and it hasn't any bids yet. So if you like good Chinese export, you might want to check that out. That's a nice example. And then there's a whole bunch of good Japanese stuff, including this nice box. It's a jewelry case with dragons on it and lacquer. It's beautifully done. And there's also this nice Kangxi with silver mount iron red dragon. It's actually an iron red chimera, a big one, and silver mounted bottle vase. Interesting thing, as we've all seen so many times, a lot of Chinese export and just regular porcelain that got sent to Europe got silver mounts on it. Gained silver mounts. Here's a picture of that Meiji box. If you like Meiji period or slightly later lacquer, this is an absolutely wonderful box, and you should check it out. The carving on it is excellent. It has a painted interior door. Beautiful work, really, really nice. It's up to $111, which I think is nothing for this. It should bring, I would think, $1,200 to $1,800 eventually. It's got 9 days to go. It might bring to over $2,000. Who knows? It's a good thing. Also is this Kangxi example, this very pretty Kangxi bowl. The painting on this is quite excellent. The cobalt decoration on this is very clean, very refined, nicely done, and a very good deep cobalt color, which is always nice to see on these, that real sapphire blue. Beautiful example. Here's the interior. That's a good deep dark blue cobalt. Wow. And it's up to $221. It closes tomorrow on Saturday. It'll be on the newsletter page. If you haven't subscribed yet to the newsletter page, please do, and you'll get updated when these things go online each week. And also this very nice Kangxi period plate with the single tree in it. It's a fairly well-known pattern. We've all seen these before. They turn up periodically. This is a nice one. It's a good example, and it's big. It's 34 centimeters, so it is a charger. Technically, it's about 14 inches in diameter. It has a very faint hairline somewhere in the glaze. So you want to check that out, but it's a nice thing. It's up to $554, and it closes on Sunday. All right. And then over here, this is one of the things I thought was so nice. I mentioned it last week. It's this really nice pair of early Blanc de Chine pots with covers with faux lines on them. This is a very nice pair of pots. Really is. Love the mask. Love the whole thing. And last week when it went up, it was early. It was only up to a few dollars. Now it's up to $1,625. It closes on Sunday. But if you're a Blanc de Chine buyer and you haven't bought anything in a while, you might want to chase these. Okay, these are really nice. Absolutely beautiful. All right, and then on to this. There's also this up right now. Is this very nice dragon textile, beautifully done. It's been cut from something and remounted. It was probably a hanging, but beautiful quality silk. Really good. Good deep dark blue silks. Lots of gold thread work on it. Just a nice example. Really is. And that's up to $320. I expect it'll go. Probably 4 or 5 times that, maybe 4 times that. It's a nice thing. This is from a seller over in Yellow Springs, Ohio, came up with it. Maybe got it at a yard sale or something out there. They do turn up. And also this pair of early 20th century lanterns, Republic period, mid-Republic period, but nicely done, nice quality. The colors are good. The blue overglazed blue enameling is very tidy, very neat, nicely done. There's a nice orange peel texture to the ground, but beautifully done. The faces of the kids are done well, and this is a nice pair of lanterns. If you like Chinese lanterns or you're thinking of getting a pair of them, they're a good pair, good looking. And they're up to $1,010. They'll probably double that. And they're going to close on Sunday. But very nice, beautiful examples. This is the same seller that had the pair of Blanc de Chine pieces, as a matter of fact. Okay? And that's about it. But check out the newsletter page this week. You're going to find quite a bit more stuff on there from CATAWIKI with this new thing we came up with that'll help us find items and load them more quickly. We keep investing in technologies that'll do that for us. So it's very useful. And if you enjoy the videos, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. I love reading the comments. I don't always reply, but I do read all the comments on here, and I do appreciate what everybody says. We do take them to heart, and have many of you know we've implemented a lot of the things that have been suggested over the years. We don't have all the time that we wish we had to do everything, but we do try. And have a great weekend. So we'll see you next week, and we'll have some news for everybody next week about the changes to the site. It's finally about done, and we're all set. All righty. Have a great weekend. Stay warm. Bye-bye.